Alright, so let's continue. And now we will look into the dialog boxes for posting a job as well as viewing one. And in the final version, it looks something like this when the user tries, like when the user wants to post a job. So it basically opens this dialog box that has a layout like this, which has the input fields plus the select one, and also the option of selecting different skills. So let's start with the posting of jobs first, and we will look into the viewing the job one later on. So inside the project that we are currently working, let's create a new file inside the job folder, and let's name it as new job modal, and import the basic stuff that we always do, such as React and few components from the material UI library. And the first one would be box, grid, and we also need the filled input to display the input fields, plus the select one to show the select list, and also the menu items. Now we also need to import components for displaying the dialog, and these are dialog that will kind of wrap the entire the modal that we will be working with, and also dialog title for displaying the title, and dialog content, which will kind of contain the content of content, which will contain the content of our entire dialog box, and also the actions that is kind of like the footer of any dialog box. So let's continue, and we will export default the functional component. And now let's import the dialog component that's going to contain the entire thing. Firstly, let's have the dialog title. That's basically, if we check this out, it is the post job one, and it also has this the cross button, and we will add this later on, but for now let's just add the text. And below it we will have, one second, let me format. Okay, below it we will have the dialog content, and now the dialog content should be a grid component, like the grid component which contains the entire thing, like for the all the input fields basically. And as you can see, the grid items inside the grid container are kind of taking half of the width. So we can do that by giving the half of the columns which are available. And it also has this, it is also a filled input with some multi rows and stuff. So we will look into that later, but for now let's just structure the input fields. So the first one is a filled input, the second one is a select list, third, fourth, 5. Okay, so let's work with this. Firstly, we need to create the grid component of type container, and within it we can have the different grid items. And let's do that. Grid item. Now all the grid items that are inside of it, like the first 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, they are taking half of the width. So let's do one thing, let's give them half of the width by giving 6 columns each, and within it let's have our filled input. So the first one is a filled input which has a placeholder of job title, and let's add that star as well, so it looks like it is required. And we also need to remove the underline, which looks ugly. And let's have a look to what we have right now. Okay, we are not importing. Okay, so let's first import this modal component inside our main app, and we can import it right over here below the header, because it will be displayed in the middle of the screen. So let's import it by new job modal. That's gonna auto import. As you can see, it's importing the modal. And the thing is, if we save it right now and have a look, it won't make much difference, like the dialog box is not appearing. So the way this works is that the dialog component actually has a prop of open that has a value of boolean, whether true or false, and depending upon that value it gets displayed. So let's just hard code true for now. So it's not gonna display it. Okay, so that looks kind of ugly. So what we can do is we can give the full width prop to the dialog, so it takes kind of like more space than this. And now what we need to do is, this is the filled input which is inside the grid item, and if we inspect it, we can see that this grid input is actually taking half of the width. However, the input field, the filled input, is not taking as much. And what we can do is we can pass in a prop to a filled input of full width. So it basically implies that take the entire width which is available. And if we have a look right now, okay, now it does look nice. All right, so let's import, let's copy this again and have a look. Okay, so now they're sitting next to each other, but I think we should have had we should add some spacing in between, and we can do that by passing a prop to the container of spacing. And let's give 2, and let's have a look. What do we have? Okay, now it's looking much better. Okay, so the thing is, the second grid item is actually a select list. So let's do the same thing. Like, instead of this, let's go back to the header that we were working on, and which is this one, not the header, the search bar, basically the search bar. Yep. And inside of it, we can, the first one is like, if we check it out, the first one is the job type. So let's copy and paste the first one. Let's just copy it over here, and within the new modal, inside the grid item, the second one, let's paste it and have a look. And we will also need to add the full width on this one as well, and we can do that by giving it a full width. So it's gonna take the entire width. Perfect. Alright, so let's add the rest of these. So the third and the fourth one are input, like the filled input as well. So what we can do is, we can copy the first one, and after the grid item, make sure you do not add it inside the grid item of one input field. Like, we have to add it another one, like another grid item, and that's doing the exact same thing. And instead of job title, it is company name, and the second one is a company URL. So let's do that by company name, and again we will copy this like a new grid item and name it as company URL. Okay, so let's have a look. Alright, so as you can see, now some of you might be confused that we are giving it like 6 columns, but the way this works is, like, if all the grid items take their space according to the number of columns that you have assigned, and if they do not have the required number of columns, they will wrap below, they will wrap down. So that's why they are being displayed below, like the company name and the company URL. So let's continue. The fifth one is the job location, and the sixth one is a the fifth one is a select list, and the sixth one is the filled input. So let's do that again, and let's do one thing, let's copy it first, and let's go back into the search bar and copy this one, the job location basically, and instead of filled input, it will be this one. And let's have a look, but first let's just copy the other one as well, and that is the, what is it, the job link. Okay, so let's have a look at what we have. Again, we need to add the full width, and let's have a look. Okay, now it's looking nice, and let's add the job description as well, and let's just copy this. Now, instead of 6 columns, let's give it 12 columns, because we need the job description to take the entire width. And instead of placeholder of link, we shall add job description. And like, if we have a look right now, it will be added, as you can see, but we also need to add few more lines, so it gives the feel of like you can add more description to this. And for that, we can add the multi-line prop, as well as a fixed number of columns that it should take. So let's add 4, and let's have a look, and it should be rows, not row. And let's have a look now. Okay, so now it is looking nice, kind of what we have over here. And in the next video, we shall work with the skills one, and also wrap up with the dialog action, this button. Alright then.